Namaste and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. Sattology means science of truth, study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. I've said it many times. Non-commercial usage of Sattology is welcome by all of you. And only problem is when you put a Sattology branded product on Amazon to sell commercially, that is not acceptable. If any of the authors want to use Sattology word, they can use that. Just write a letter to email to us that you're going to use that word instead of mythology. That is perfectly acceptable because we want to check the context. Because our definition of Sattology is if it is as per the Vedic line of thought, it is Sattology. If it is outside the Vedic line of thought, it is mythology. So Ramayana, Mahabharata are Sattology, whereas all other Abrahamic literatures can be considered as mythology. So with that, I have a very special guest, and I'm going to use the three adjectives: Rishi, Muni, Tapasvi, and is unparalleled author in the history of modern world, as you see today. So let us welcome Sri Nilesh Nilkant Oak.
Namaskar, Aditya ji.
Namaskar. बहुत लोग and many people are saying that Nilesh is not coming. He's upset with Sattology. I said, no such.
What's going on,
What's
right?
going on? So that has become the talk of the town. But no such thing. Sattology doesn't engage in any personal kind of dialogue. But we are all very happy to tell you that no such thing exists actually in a dictionary, especially just like in the sports world, in the Shastra world also, we appreciate the other person. If somebody is doing better than us or has better understanding or deeper understanding, we definitely value their contribution. And that is a chance for us to learn also. And that is also the Vedic Gurukul system where you appreciate other people's knowledge and try to learn from them instead of trying to criticize them whimsically out of your own ego, out of your own personal vendetta, or any other reason. It creates a vitanda, not vad vivad or not discussion. So, coming back to today's topic is amazing. And Shastrarth, Shastrarth is a very much used. Shastras, by the way, is not debate. And debate means like you're trying to prove one over the other. It's like a cockfighting, but on a studio. We are not into debates. So coming to Bhagavad Gita, in the 16th chapter, 23rd shloka, Bhagavan Krishna says, Ya Shastra Vidhim Utsrijya Vartate Kamakarata, Nasa Siddhim Abapnudi, Na Sukham Na Param Gatim. So tell me one thing, when people give arguments which is not based on Nyaya or Niti, then how far that argument can go?
Well, welcome to all. We are meeting together with Aditya ji after a long time. At least I am meeting. Just let me clear the air. If some people are asking you, actually, it's a good news that a lot of things are happening. You mentioned Gurukula. There are few Gurukula related projects that I'm working on, and then it has, in a very positive way, it has become a challenge to do some of the things while I'm still here, but the action is happening, say, in India. Okay. And to do things out of here sometimes is challenging, and vice versa. Some of the things one would like to accomplish, America provides a better atmosphere. And for some things, you have to be physically in India. So that's the kind of balance that I am going through. And that also means if I go to India, then things here get into a different crisis, having the proper access and so on. So a lot of exciting things going on. In fact, Aditya ji, I'm going to take this opportunity to tell who listen to me and who will eventually listen to me when the edited version goes out, let's say on YouTube, is that I have, frankly, I mean, it's all good news, by the way, very exciting stuff, that there's so much going on that my ability to respond to individual messages, whether email or in a social media, is simply not there. Okay, so which means I try my best, but do understand that many times the responses are not given by me, but by I have a small volunteer team now. Okay, they have access to the mostly Twitter and Facebook. So those are the two areas, and email and my all emails. Okay, So email, I'm going to stop slowly, but still people, I don't know, I don't want to call them mood, but don't understand. Maybe the message has not reached them that they should not use it. So out of kindness, as a decency, they are responded to, but that will not work or that will stop for a very reason. It's just simply not possible to purely looking at the number of emails or number of messages. So that's a good news. Like the fact that I'm receiving so many emails is a good news, but I cannot use that same old format, for responding. So response will be like this. And that's why we have a Sattology. So for example, the today's topic I'm going to discuss that Aditya ji already referred to, which is Shastrarth. And he said Shastrarth is not a debate in the Western sense of the thing. For example, like Oxford debate. There the idea is your position could be very wrong, but the only focus on how effectively using a certain arbitrary list of rules, how did you fight? Now, as a practice, that's a good thing. Like, the Oxford debate that you see, like ability to communicate in a logical fashion is a big deal. Majority cannot do it. I mean, even just Aditya's simple fact as logic, there also what Bhagwan Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvata. Like, understand him. I would say, out of many people who want to know the logic or they think they speak logically, communicate logically, debate logically, maybe one person actually thinks ki maybe I should learn exactly rather than just thinking I'm speaking logically. And among such thousands, one who are willing and sincere and willing to put the efforts, maybe one succeeds. So that shlok or that assertion of Bhagwan Krishna also applies to logic, nyaya. So we have that in 13th chapter, Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam, that darshanam. So Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam, that Satatya Yoga, okay? Like you are not going to get good at something by just like reading one book, by listening to one talk. No, that's not going to happen. Adhyatma is like a breathing. You don't say, oh, yesterday I breathed a lot, or I did a lot of pranayam. Today I'm not going to breathe. No, that doesn't work. Breathing has to go on continuously. Heart has to keep on pumping blood continuously. It is the same thing with the study. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam. That Satatya Yoga must be there in knowing everything. So Adhyatma Jnana, that's true for Jnana also. And Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam. So Tattva Jnan, philosophy, and Darshanam, these are two different aspects. So people need to learn that, and we are going to talk about that darshana, little aspect of darshana, not the whole of darshana, and what Aditya ji said, Shastrarth, which is to say, not just the debate. Because see, debate, what is the idea? I mean, if you look at say Oxford debate, for example, and by the way, I stopped because of my too many commitments, but I used to be judge here in state of Georgia for the high school debate competitions for many years. Okay, I have been. They have these different formats. I mean, too many formats sometimes. To the extent I have to go and read the rules before I become a judge. That's how fast the rules change. But what is a common theme among those debates, which is good, it trains people, is that it's all about winning. It's not about the truth. And the Shastrartha that Aditya ji is referring to is not about winning. It's about getting closer to the truth through the best approximation to the truth, which is very different. And therefore, some of the words we can use. And when a certain word is used and it's misunderstood, we have to coin a different word. Fortunately, that's not an issue with Sanskrit. So, for example, Vada, like when Krishna's time, 7,500 years ago, Krishna is saying Vada Pravadata Aham as a in the Vibhuti Yoga or 7th chapter or 10th. Vada Pravadata Aham. Among the discussion, samvada, vada of great learned individuals to know the truth, among that, I am the representation of that vada. When you are listening to a beautiful samvada, okay? And so, for example, like our program, Sattology, Aditya and me talking, right? And assuming you think it's wonderful, that's why people come and attain in numbers. Then Krishna says, that's where you can see my presence. That's a vibhuti. But Vada also over time actually got misunderstood. Okay. For example, by Shankaracharya's time, Shankaracharya is also saying Vada Parityajyatam. As much as possible, avoid Vada. And in the Bhakti tradition also, you will hear that, like avoid the Vada. No, what is the verse that you quote? Vada Vedarata Partha,
ये
right? I mean, sorry.
अशोचन शोचस्तम प्रज्ञावादाम से भासते.
There you go.
कदा सुना.
Now, what is happening there? Pradnyavadavsha Vashase, okay? So it's like the person is trying to project his or her education. Okay, it's a snobbery. Snobbery that Pradnya is a true Pradnyavan will not be snob. Okay,
किसी को
but
मॉडल nobody is getting a medal over there for defeating
no,
somebody else.
no, that's right. Nobody is getting a medal, right? And therefore, when you see these things happen in a genuine fashion, I'll give you an example. I was having and I'll get into the slide in a minute. I was having a discussion with one of the IIT professor. I will not go into the disciplines, but engineering discipline, IITian himself, and he retired now. Okay, so retired maybe just a few years ago, but still very young in health and mind and everything. And so, in a conversation, he just asked me something, but isn't this true? And this had to do with the precession of the Earth's axis and the sidereal and tropical calendars. This was a while ago, maybe a few months ago, 2, 3 months ago. And he said something, but this is the case, right? Isn't it that this is the case, but you are saying something or something of that effect? And I just said, as a simple statement, that X, for example, that whatever the argument he was making has absolutely nothing to do with what we are discussing. Now, this person, by his learning, by his education, by his qualification, is much elder to me. I mean, much superior to me, I would say. Now, this particular subject, when I said this, he said, well, but hold on. So if let's take the scenario. And Adityaji, we went on like that, maybe a discussion that happened through email or WhatsApp or whatever the forum was, or whatever the communication channel we were using, for like, say, 10 or 20 times back and forth. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is then finally, when he understood, and not that he may not have understood, but he was looking for a clarification maybe. And then he said, oh, my bad. When I put my first argument, I should have made this clear. And then he said, thank you very much for catching my mistake right upfront. So the point is, he was thankful. Okay. And I have that whole conversation with me. It's not like kept like to impress someone. Just it so came up and then I'm mentioning it. Now that's what you see when Bhagwan Shankaracharya had a debate with Mandana Mishra. Or who is the other name that you had mentioned? Keshav Bharati?
Keshav Kashmiri.
Keshav Kashmiri debating in the English language, we use the word Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Right. Or you see a wonderful discussion between the Shad Goswamis. So, for example, Rupa Goswami would say something. Sanatana Goswami may have another point of view. Okay. And then Jiva Goswami would actually come and say, hold on, that's not correct and that's not correct. And here is what his point of view. Now that you have to help me with the name, our Pankajji, Mishra.
Rameshwar Mishra Pankaj.
Rameshwar Mishra Pankajji. He that one lecture, not lecture, the one program he had with you, I keep on quoting anytime somebody asks me about this subject. I quote that link, send that Sattology link. That's what our audience needs to do, understand which links are useful. The reason is, he says, hey, this is like an exercise. When we look at the different Shad darshanas, they are complementary to each other. But when it appears to a very naive mind, that as if like the darshanas are fighting against each other, that's like two wrestlers, practicing in the akhada. Okay, so are they fighting, meaning are they like angry at each other? No, they are practicing to practice and make their muscles stronger. Similarly, when the different darshana shastra experts come together and fight, or they say, well, according to this, that's not correct because blah blah blah, and then you see these arguments into the commentaries, they are strengthening their intellectual muscles. And why you're strengthening these intellectual muscles, that is given. Satyena labhyas tapasa yesha atma.
Yeah. And also this kind of discussion is held between very knowledgeable people. Actually, I mix up the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita because of Kali Yuga memory. But actually the shloka is Yam Ivam Pushpitam Vacham Pravadante Avipachita. Yeah, Pushpitam. Because nowadays people think that very flowery, flowing language. Now I can tell you many sadhus on internet. They speak so eloquently, but totally misplaced.
or sometime I cannot understand what they're saying.
What they
Now,
say?
now of course
With due
that could be
respect to
my
them.
limitation of my intellect. I'm willing to accept that. There was a so just not to change the subject, very much on the subject. Somebody sent me yesterday a link, and you and me have had no chance to discuss it, so I will not go into that. And said, Nilesh, someone is like doing this. Did you watch this video? You know, and that person, I don't know if you came across that. That person is talking using the upaman of a quantum entanglement.
Correct.
Okay,
I've seen that. I've seen that.
you saw. Oh my! Let's not discuss that. Okay, so
I
quantum. Uh,
I was thinking,
uh,
where should I put this video? Which category? Because this is the height of hypocrisy over there.
so like the person who asked me, like I said, okay, what I mean, this is so. Actually, I responded, by the way, because again, satya is important, right? I mean, yeah, they say that tell the truth in a very pleasant way.
This is a
What is
new
that?
fashion nowadays to connect our Atma Gyan
Anything
to
with quantum
quantum
intent.
intent, quantum.
Huh. Right. So when that person sent me the link and I started watching, I said, hey, I mean, I have studied quantum mechanics for 30 years, but quantum entanglement I haven't understood, or how the foolishly people use it. So I wasn't going to watch, and then suddenly it said, oh, it's a relevant subject to me. Anyways, the point I was saying is I responded to that person because now this is a challenge, Aditya, because somebody will say, if I tell the truth, then they will say, oh, you are being very offensive. If I quote it in a sarcastic fashion, people will say you are sarcastic. If I try to make it pleasant, they said you are not telling the truth. And that's exactly what happened. So I will tell you what the response I gave. I said, well, hey, I watched it. I listened to this whole thing. It didn't take me more than 5 minutes, but I actually went through the whole talk. Believe me, I can do that. And then I said, okay, so what are my thoughts? I said, it's moronic because, if I start discussing the details of it, then like I'm getting into that foolishness. So I said, it's moronic. Or I said second, and then I found some, just like what they call, you find a shorts, like there was this kid with a full confidence. He is doing he's chanting the multiplication tables with everything wrong.
Like
So I said, this one,
quantum entanglement, karma bandhan. अरे सीधा बोलो यार कर्म बंधन. Just say कर्म बंधन. Don't say quantum entanglement.
करेक्ट. बिकॉज कर्मणाम गहना गति.
कर्मणा
किसी को
कहना
समझा
गति.
नहीं है कृष्ण is
Exactly.
कर्म कर्म विकर्म. He's trying to explain, still people are confused like hell. So that's that. But let's get to the subject. Now this is important to people, of course, those who are participating in the debate, yes, but they have to go by the rules of the debates, which is good but also unfortunate because the goal is only winning. In Nyaya Darshana it is called jalpa, which is to say two people are coming together only to win. They want to win. That's the only objective. Truth, they don't care. I mean, if truth comes in the point of view, that's fine. Sorry, go ahead.
And Prajalpa इसका भी बाप है. Prajalpa goes above, the father of Jalpa. In
विशेष
Prajalpa,
प्रकर्ष प्रकर्ष से किया हुआ जल पर, right?
it's like students of WhatsApp University. It's
Huh.
like just quoting WhatsApp University's bona fide sources.
Correct. And these are all social media universities, and see, the thing is now is some snob stuck in academia will use this and call it WhatsApp university. But fact is, university, academia, also the same thing goes on. Like people have to read Nassim Nicholas Taleb, right? I mean, what he says about academia, and I agree with it. So basically, what? All that these different things you are saying, they are found everywhere. Let me get into the presentation of it. Like somewhere, let me say where it started, for example. And I mean, these are not like a new start. These are all the time there. For example, by I published books in America, and of course, they are read by many people. But I would say revolution came when my good friend, I did not know him, I did not even know his first name. Then, like which is going back not that long ago, 5 years ago, 2018, I did not know this person existed, Ritvik Subramanya. And so we communicated. Again, the social media is an enabler, guys. So I'm not putting down, I will never put down social media. Okay, just powerful. It's just how we use it. It's like a fire. Fire can be used for useful purposes and it can be used for destructive purposes. So he contacted me. Even he did not mention his name, Aditya ji. And then now you know him and all that. So he said, "Sir, your books are very costly in India. Can I publish them?" I said, "Yes, you can publish them." And of course, I will not. This is Mr. Subramanya, Ritvik's father. Okay, this is also another very learned individual. My apologies, I don't know his name. And here you may know, Shatavdhani, Sri Shatavdhani Ganeshji. And this was a ceremony many years ago. I don't know exactly when, at least around 5 years ago or less than 5 years ago in Bengaluru. And you can see many books there being published. But everybody, if there is a common factor, Aditya ji, everyone is holding when did the Mahabharat war happen? Okay,
Exactly.
the common factor. And now it has reached lakhs of households. Okay, well, it is reaching all the colleges, and thanks to Ritvik Subramanya, he made that magic. Okay, right. So what happens is that, this is also happens sometime, like J.P. Haldane. He mentions a British biologist, how a new revolutionary work gets accepted. It doesn't get accepted in a straight line. Like, for example, Modi ji becoming a prime minister. Like, people, somebody's calling him chai wala. Somebody is coming, oh, he should only come to serve the chai in a like other opposition party now, or even the party almost doesn't exist, like their convention or whatever it is. So these things can happen. This is not even a jalpa, it goes below, under the belt kind of stupidity. But that will happen, because what happens is, any revolutionary work that uh, that is, I mean, by the definition revolutionary, that wakes people up. People are in their slumber, in their lazy comfort. It's wakes them up. And so then what happens, all these different types of reactions starts coming, and I'm coming to my point. So that's when it is very important that uh, people are knowledgeable about how the refutation takes place. So, for example, just because somebody says something, because Aditya, that those are the kind of emails or social media request I get. Like Mr. X, just like the yesterday's or day before, I don't know exactly when, the quantum entanglement individual. I mean, he's just talking utter nonsense. But there are people who are incapable of distinguishing between intellect and nonsense. So the person will say, oh yeah, this person is saying something, maybe he's even referring to your work, so please now respond. Now you have to be very careful with that. Okay, now what I do, Aditya ji, is, time permitting, and all the requests that I receive, I do want to respond to them. I mean, do want to honor the request. But it's very likely that because of my time commitments to other projects, and I have any given time 30 plus projects. In fact, some of my mentors, and they are right on the money. They say, Nilesh, what nonsense is this? They tell me, okay, says, who in the real world can work on 30 projects together? And they are right. So I have to say no to many things. No, sorry, I will not able to do this. Sorry, I will not able to do this. Now, I didn't say that, Aditya, to you, but partly because of some of the conflicting things that are going on, like on the weekends, or usually when we do on whatever the day we do. Um, because of that, there is a already existing conflict, and we cannot do it, right? So I have to say no to some places, because I have not figured out, like Bhagwan Krishna, to be present in multiple places. I haven't attained that siddhi yet. you know so that's the issue. So there is the reason why I do not respond to some of them. Some of them are so moronic that, other than saying it's a moronic thing, or even some idiot who brings it to my attention and does not even understand, I just simply block that person and matter done. And I will continue to do that. I have asked my volunteer team to do that. But the point is, I also want to use this as an opportunity, as an exciting opportunity to teach people. And you know why it works? Because people learn in two different ways. I mean, there are 100 different ways, but in this particular context, especially when there is a samshay, there is a doubt, for the same ultimate question, there are two answers. And now the person is confused. Okay, which one is correct? Or both of them are wrong? Are both of them wrong? Or if one of them is correct, which one is it? It's a great, this is a understanding coming to this place is of great importance. That's we call samshay in Nyaya Darshana. No, very important. And how do you get rid of it? Now, there is a method. That's what we are discussing here. Now, this is one aspect of it. I can say this is a social aspect, what Paul Graham is describing in his pyramid, and you can read his book, very well written book. Guys, students, researchers, you will find this extremely useful. Okay. So his pyramid of refutation is, that's what I want to quickly just show it to you, because this is not Nyaya Darshana, or this is not the philosophy of science, or this is not what Aditya ji referred to. Ye Shastra Vidhi Mustruja Vartate Kama Karata Nasa Siddhi Noti Na Sukham Na Paragatim. And Arjuna also says, but what about if somebody doesn't know Shastra? See, Aditya ji, that is our other challenge in a modern, contemporary, Sanatana Hindu civilization, whatever you want to call it. It's a challenge. Do you know what the challenge is? The challenge is people think they have a Shraddha, "Arey bhai, mujhe aur kuch karna nahi hai. I just want to do bhakti." But how will you do bhakti? Jnaneshwar says, "Mujhe Shraddha hai. I have a Shraddha. I have a conviction. I have a respect. I have a reverence. I don't need anything." No, pure nonsense. Shraddha is very important. Without Shraddha, nothing can happen. But even Dhaneshwar, not even Dhaneshwar, Dhaneshwar says in Dhaneshwari, Shraddha Manitaliya Sati Patejo Neye Kiriti. Just because you say I have a Shraddha doesn't mean you have a Shraddha. What if I just start saying, oh, I understand astronomy? That
You
is
said
what
that.
my trolls do.
Yeah.
Sorry, you may be muted. Like you said something.
No, I'm not muted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
So Shraddha builds in association. जैसे
Yes,
जैसे कि like people say Shraddha, if you don't have know anything, then associate with people who have some expertise or some years they have spent in that system. This some of you may be watching our show for the first time, but you are seeing that me and Nilesh ji are connected to the topic so deeply within our own hearts. May not be perfectly, but we are connected. So that has come where I am learning from Nilesh ji, and Nilesh ji sees some of my conversations other places also, and that's how we learn from each other. So that's how Shraddha develops. So if you do not have Shraddha, or don't believe that anybody is truthful, then watch multiple people who are in the same space. Just like if you want to develop interest in a game, you have to watch the sports first. Yeah, go
correct.
ahead,
So,
Nilesh, please.
yeah, if you're playing tennis, you will watch multiple good tennis players, and you're going to learn from everyone. No, like everyone brings something to the table. Absolutely. So, Paul Graham's pyramid of refutation. Many of you might have heard about this before. Many of you might have read his book. If not, I would highly encourage you to grab that. When you go to Google and type it, you'll get a lot of information too. This is his just a good, very quick summary, beautiful triangle, sorry, the pyramid there of refutation. So when somebody accuses you, or somebody says, nah, this is like this, and therefore, uh, those people who send me these emails or this, I mean, guys, you can keep on sending. When my volunteer team gets a chance, they may respond, they may not respond. That's there. Or even responses or messages in social media. But the point is, actually, people have to up their game. This is like Uddaren Atmanam Anam Atmanam Avasade. Okay. You can keep on listening to others, and you must listen, but you can keep on listening to others unless you do something to practice yourself. I mean, the best example is when the birds are flying in the formation. Like, see, they are assisted, like Aditya ji talked about, therefore discussing with others, meeting together, just like Aditya ji and myself do. By the way, I will mention, it's not like Aditya ji and myself, we just do it here. I mean, this becomes a program, but very often, I will pick up a phone and call Aditya ji, or he will pick up a phone and call me, in spite of our busy schedules. And there may be a very specific subject and not some gossip. Sometimes it will turn into gossip, but may not be gossip. It's a very specific. He might be reading a certain shlok, and something comes to his mind, and he calls me and says, "Hey, I was reading this beautiful shlok, and I thought I felt like sharing with you." Okay, that is that Satatam Kirtayantoma. Okay, or what is Aditya ji will quote better, but Tushan teacher, Raman teacher, or they come together and do this. That's a very joyful activity. Even this is a joyful activity. This is not, for example, what I'm discussing right now. Many utterly idiotic folks, like trying to find faults into my research. Now I welcome that, because through that, actually, vade jayate tatvo bodho. Through that, the knowledge grows. And sometimes it irritates me because it's a waste of time. Okay. And even though, but then those people who object, I do not actually, I like that when they object. I get irritated many times by my followers, Aditya ji, I'll tell you. Because instead of studying what these guys are saying, and instead of then going back and rereading or studying my books or my videos, watching our videos, we have what now, 100 plus video series. All the answers
120.
practically are there. Huh?
120.
120. So all the answers are there. So going back to them and listening, they will just ask the question as if the question was never asked. I will tell you, and I'll tell you that I cannot think last 5 years. Just as a simple example, I cannot think of any question that was asked to me, and I said, "Oh wow, nice question, new question." No, there is no new question. In fact, as I coach some of the folks that I'm working with, I mean, these are wonderful researchers. I tell them your preparation should be such that when you go out and give a presentation, or when you get on a show like Sattology or any other platform, if somebody asks you a question and you are surprised by it, you said, "Oh, I never thought of that question," then your preparation is not sufficient. Your preparation should be such that you're not waiting for somebody, some genuine person or some snob or some idiot to raise some question. That's good, but you are not waiting for it. You should be so critical on yourself, on your own research, whatever you have done, that you have thought of every single question that the person is going to ask or will possibly ask. Let me quickly go through this. So when somebody makes a criticism, critique, whatever the word they may use, they may call it some academic snob word, doesn't matter. You have to actually read to get to the bottom of it. And Paul Graham's pyramid of refutation really helps you. Okay, this slide and one more slide. I don't have more. So you just try to say, is this guy, is this individual who is accusing you or objecting or critiquing, criticizing, does this person have anything substantial, or it only amounts to something like, sounds something like you are an asshat? So he's just calling this guy is an idiot. Now actually there are idiots, let me tell you. And there is nothing else you can say but just say idiot. Like yesterday's the quantum entanglement. God, I cannot get out of that my mind. See, that is sometimes humorous, but also waste of time. Like, I mean, I just, like I mentioned to Aditya just now, but I feel like somebody calls and says, "Nilesh, what's new?" And I feel like talking about the quantum entanglement video. So that could be a waste of time. So I'm saying, okay, is the person talking some sense, or he just calling you names, or he is just talking utter nonsense, such as quantum entanglement and whatever the subject was, Mahabharata dating and quantum entanglement. I go to conferences and I hear that, people will be talking about anything, the conference on a bhakti, conference on a yoga, conference on a whatever, Saraswati civilization, conference on the Saraswati Nadi, and some person idiot will still stand up and talk about protons, neutrons, and quantum entanglement. Okay. And the different theories in quantum mechanics. It's always hilarious. Okay. All right. I mean, that's let's go to the next one. Now, sometimes it's not that. Sometimes there is something more. And as we go up the pyramid, we are at least going directionally in a better direction. Okay. So it may not be just that. The person may not be purely calling you names, but he or she might be doing something like this. He or she may be attacks the characteristics or authority of the writer without addressing the substance of the argument. So, for example, the person will do this. And many times in our short discussion like this, we have to do that. Like, for example, without going into this yesterday's video, I'm just saying it's moronic. Okay, that's the response I gave it to somebody who asked me. Now, because somebody asked me, I gave the response. This is also important to understand. Otherwise, even if I happen to run into that video, there is nothing that tells me like I should go and respond to it, write a comment or write to the speaker or write to someone. No, just ignore it. But somebody asked, now if I don't respond, now the person says, maybe there is some substance in this video. And hey, if somebody finds there is a substance, in fact, Aditya ji, I wrote to some guy, I said, hey, it was a sarcasm. Now I don't know if the person understood it. I said, actually, I was so happy to hear about this quantum entanglement, and actually the explanation was very clear, and it brings a calm and a peace in the listener. Okay, this is what I wrote there. Now, many will understand the sarcasms, or some will understand sarcasm, others won't. So sometimes that's that. The other one is attacking the characteristics or authority of the writer. Somebody will say, oh, he's an Indian. Somebody, I mean, to me, if they're, or he say, oh, yeah, he lives in America. So this also happens, by the way. Aditya ji is well aware of it. You get criticized because, you are living in America. He says, you are living in America and you are studying Indian civilization. How does that work? Well, if you want to know how does that work, all you have to do is listen to my talks and read my books. Okay. The posing of the question itself is not like, therefore this cannot happen, but some people will do that. They will try to, this is called ad hominem. Okay. A personal attack. This person is not tall, this person is too tall, this person is too short, this person's complexion is like this person's language limitations, English is not good, this person cannot speak Marathi well, this person cannot speak Hindi well, I get, or English well, I get all kinds of comments, so that's that second level. They are talking about this person but not addressing the main issue. That is what they want to say, that that's not correct. Let's go to the next one. Then criticizes the tone of the writing without addressing the substance of the argument. Like there are these folks, they will say, Nilesh, again, those of you who are my fans here who are listening, you may not say, oh, why? No, I never found Nilesh saying anything abusive. But these people, because they have failed on every single front, now they want to somehow find something, just like that happens in politics. So they take this Shastra and turn that into politics. Okay. So for that, they will say, oh, he abuses me. And you know what could be the abuse? I'll give you an example. For example, they will say, oh, come and debate with me. And I say, yeah, what do you want to debate about? And then they will say something which is not even a subject of a debate. Like that's why you need to learn the philosophy of science or Nyaya Darshan. For example, Nyaya Darshana says, so pratipaksha sthapana hino vitanda. Like you want to gain the victory. Like, so you will see two versions. Swa pratipaksha sthapana hino vitanda, sa pratipaksha sthapana hino vitanda. Because that when it comes sa, it comes after the definition of a jalpa. Like all you want to do is a win. And then it says, and in such a situation, so pratipaksha sthapana hino vitanda, and you want to do that, but you don't have your own position, then that jalpa turns into vitanda. Or you can take a standalone definition of a vitanda, and these are to be, these are to be, what do you say? The people needs to be rebuked. Hey, this is not how the debate takes place. Do you have a position? But many people simply in our, the what you call, uh, the network, like Sanatana researchers or Hindu researchers, no, everyone, I mean, majority are just there to make a name, quickly get into limelight, do something. So what happens? They will find somebody who is become famous. Okay. So, hey, I feel very good. Like somebody is picking on me. I'm saying, okay, whether true or false, that person thinks I am famous. And therefore, he is making use of me, thinking that therefore he or she will become famous. That is exactly what you can see. So the third one is criticizes the tone of the writing, I'm saying, which is to say, oh, but Nilesh doesn't use a polite language. Well, I have a slide here, but today I'll not show that. No, depending, just reflect. I'm showing the mirror to them. Santa Tukaram has a great Abhanga. He's saying, Ami Vishnu Dasa Mena Huni Mau. We Vishnu Das, the devotees of Vishnu are softer than a wax. Okay. But Kathina Vajrasa Bhejwaise, but Vajra, which is considered the hardest, we are capable of breaking it. Bhaletari Devu Kasechi Langoti, even the only loincloth that we are wearing, for example, if somebody really needs it, maybe as a bandage, we will even give that to that person. We are that much udar, that much dani. भले तरी देऊ कासेची लंगोटी नाठाळाचे माथी हाणू काठी. But if some fool, some idiot, some rascal, okay, does some nonsense, no, we will hit his head with a stick. So you are going to see these different versions based on the person in the front. So now what that person, these individuals will do, and I'm saying I'm referring to my case because that becomes a very personal example. But this is what you guys have to look at it. So like, what is the tone of that criticism? Okay, so criticizes the tone of the writing without addressing the substance of the argument. So some people get stuck in the tone. Like people call me names, and I may be calling things and they think that's the names. Yeah, sure, fine. Just ignore it. Still get back to the argument. So suppose if it's a dating of Mahabharata, if it's a dating of Ramayana, get to that argument. So how did I arrive at 5561 BC? What am I saying about Arundhati Vasishta observation? What am I saying about Bhishma Nirvana? How long Bhishma was on the bed of arrows? What is the Mahabharata text saying? What is Vasudeva saying? Get to that discussion. Don't say, no, but you are offensive. So therefore, I am like disturbed. Yeah, then don't come to me. Okay. And suppose I will use the terms like, okay, then, hey, I'll kick your ass. Or you put your tail between your legs and run away. This is, oh, he's saying I put my tail between my legs. Did you put your tail? Do you have a tail? Or if you don't have it, why are you offended? Okay. So that's criticizing the tone. So therefore, because they have no other argument, they will criticize the tone. Now, remember, this is even considered, so don't forget this, even better than somebody saying, ah, he's wrong. Actually, many times you have no other option but to say that the person is wrong. Why? This may not be the first time, but you have gone through that and the person doesn't understand. Okay, like yesterday's that quantum entanglement. Somebody, I mean, I can write a long explanation. No, I will not waste my time. I said it's moronic. Okay, whatever is being discussed is moronic, because again, I don't want to call the person moron, but if there is not much difference if the person doesn't change the way. Next one, the person who is critiquing or criticizing, the person may state the opposing case with little or no supporting evidence. He says, but there is something else going there, that contradicts with this. It's better than the previous three, but there is no supporting evidence. But there can be some more problem. You may say a opposing case, contradicting case, but it would be equal to the fallacy of cherry picking. I'll give you an example of that. You are watching a tennis match, okay? A player and B player, and let's say A is a winner, okay? And in that match, and in general, a better player, let's say, but just limit to that match. And best of five, the player A wins like 6-0, 6-0, 6-0 in tennis. So that's very clear, right? But I mean, ceteris paribus, we assume that everything else was fine, the judges were impartial, everything, rules were followed, and so on. I mean, that's just given, ceteris paribus. Everything else that we're not discussing is assumed to be fine. So A wins against B 6-0, 6-0, 6-0. And now somebody says, but hold on. See, I have a problem with that decision. A won the game. Now I was watching, or here is the film, here is the evidence. Look, B actually scored this point against A. Like B did hit one ace, or maybe three aces, or some other points to score. And we say, so what? So that point, the state the opposing case with little or no supporting evidence, or even one above contradicts and then backs it up with reasoning and supporting evidence. Even the person either here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 or 5, the person may just state it saying, hey, that other person scored a point. Actually, he hit three aces against this so-called winner, player A. And you say, yeah, hey, those were great aces, but the guy lost the match, right? Or somebody says, where is the evidence? And somebody says, look, here is the thing. So that's like this stage number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 contradicts and then backs it up with a reasoning. But that's still number 4 and number 5 is still amounts to cherry picking. Did you look at the whole match? Did you look at all the sets? Did you look at all the games? And what is it saying? 6-0, 6-0, 6-0. So yes, the B might have scored some point. B might have hit some aces. Even then, it doesn't count. Okay, so that's like this. I'm just giving a simple example from sports, but that's what matters. So yes, now as you as a researcher or you as a holding one position, you should take this very seriously. State the opposing case, and Aditya will do another session when the time permits, and I will give you an example of that. Okay, this cherry picking thing, like number 4 and number 5. Okay, we'll do one session. I mean, we can do hundreds of sessions on that, but one session would be good enough, or we'll do few. So contradicting and then backs it up with a reasoning and supporting evidence. Even when the other party does that, it could amount to the fallacy of cherry picking. That's the point. And quickly, I will finish on the two. Now, the other side may do this, find the mistake and explains why it is mistaken using quotes or using even evidence. Okay. Now, this is the situation when Aditya and myself began. We said actually when a true samvada takes place, true vada takes place, true shastrarth takes place, somewhere in this area. So things do start getting interesting from number 4 from the bottom. Okay. The opposing case exists, even if cherry picked. A so-called evidence, like some evidence is provided or explained, contradiction is shown, and some reasoning or some supporting evidence is provided. That's a good thing, because that is where above that step 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, you are going to, that's when vade jayate tattva bodho comes into picture. Because somebody showing an opposing case is actually going to make me go back and look at that reference. Somebody showing a contradiction and supporting reasoning is going to make me go look at it. And that's Aditya what we will do in another session. I'll show somebody says, hey, here is a reference, and Nilesh doesn't take this into account when he is dating the Mahabharata. And I said, okay, what is that? Because Mahabharata is 100,000 plus shloka long. I might have missed it. Actually, I know that I would have missed something. So anytime somebody brings it to my attention, I'm very happy. That is that vade jayate tattva bodha. So what happens? Somebody finds some mistakes. Now that didn't happen in this case. I will tell you how moronic that case is. Okay. Next time we will discuss it. It falls into this cherry picking nonsense. Okay. But I'm saying still it is useful. It is useful for me as a researcher. It is useful for the audience to understand the nuances of the evidence that is there in the Bhagavan Vyasadeva's Mahabharata. But the next one, find the mistake and explains it why it is mistaken. Okay, why somebody made a mistake. I might have done a mistake in calculation. It has happened many times through my research. It continues to happen. And somebody points it out. Like my young friend Jeevan Rao, who has written a Yuganta. Like sometimes he will say, okay, Nilesh sir, here, this one, did you mean to say this, but you wrote this, or you calculated this? And I say, oh, thank God. Thank you. Thank you for telling this. So yes, find some mistakes and then explains why the person, why I might have made it. Ask me in a right tone. Like, I mean, he can ask me whichever way he wants. My point is, even when the person says, okay, is this a mistake or you mean to say something that I'm not understanding? Now that is a samvad. That is the samvad. That is our whole tradition in the Sanatana. With the Krishna and Arjun, or Bhishma and a Yudhishthir. I mean, all the Gitas that we talk about, Vidura Gita and all the different things, those are of this kind. Everywhere it is a samvad. Okay. And doesn't mean you cannot object. I mean, Arjun objects at the beginning of a third chapter. He says, hey, you are saying that the buddhi and a sankhya, I mean, is more than a karma, but why are you asking me, insisting me that I do the karma? It's perfectly fine. Actually, Arjun caught Krishna very well there, and therefore we getting this bigger wisdom. So yes, you may think it's a mistake, you may find it's a mistake, and you can be very stern about it. Nothing wrong, but there is nothing personal. That's what Aditya mentioned. There is nothing personal. Okay, when we are finding errors, there is nothing personal. Actually, we should be thankful. Suppose most of us stand in front of a mirror when we get out, before we get out, after shower, when we are getting ready to go to school or office or wherever, right? And we just make sure that everything is looking fine. There is no speck on our face, whatever it is. The collar is not crumpled. We haven't worn the shirt the upside down. We look at that. Now, when we look at the mirror, and if we find any error, the mirror shows us our mistake. We don't get angry at the mirror and break the mirror. We are actually thankful to the mirror. Okay. And so we fix ourselves. It's the same thing when somebody is bringing a opposing case, somebody is bringing a contradiction that is a contradicting with your thing, or somebody is explaining your mistake. You should be thankful. There is nothing else, right? And be grateful, thankful. So, for example, that's what you need to do. This is a very interesting type of discussion. So, from step 4, they're still worse. 4 is worse than 5, and 5 is worse than 6. But my point is, at least it is getting in the right direction. And just the peak at the top, the pinnacle, the top of it. What is it? If you should be like totally happy if the persons, or you should do to others when some snobs or whichever way, whatever their station in life or intellectual station in their intellectual journey, if they make a point, the best way to refute is explicitly refute the central point. Okay. And I want to stop here, Aditya ji, but next time I'll give an example of that. We will use this triangle and I'll show the example. Again, when we do this, what happens? Because individuals do these things, So therefore, we have to sometimes refer to individuals. But remember, referring to those individuals is coincidental. And in my lectures or even my talks like these, communications, I said this is never about a vyakti. It's never about the individual or that person. It is about the vritti. It is about how their mind is thinking, how their emotion is speaking, how their snobbiness is coming out, how the error that they have made, but they feel awkward, they feel embarrassed to admit the error. I mean, this is not only limited to them. This is true for all of us, including myself. I'm saying, and Aditya ji, when sometimes you make an error inside, in the individually, in the personal thing, you'll just curse yourself. I mean, how did that happen? But outside, you may be truly embarrassed. You says, oh my God, how do I admit that? So it's understandable. So we have to be very sympathetic to them. We have to extend our karuna, kindness to them. So it's never about the individual. It is about the vritti, not about the vyakti. So if you have to quickly think of this as a naming, again from Paul Graham's book, you can think of this. The first bottom one is just the name calling. The next one is like ad hominem. Then next one is responding to the tone. I mean, yeah, it's better than just name calling, but it's still really, really of no use. The bottom three are next to useless. And Aditya ji, we may do another session. Actually, I will take something, okay, and praised by somebody else too, but I will show how that particular entire write-up does not go beyond the bottom three steps. It will be very educational. Now, once you go to step 4, contradiction, although that's not very good, like stating the opposing case with little or no supporting evidence, it's still directionally useful in my mind. Counter argument, like somebody saying, but oh, that person also hit an ace, and we say yes, that means what? The person does know tennis, or person is good at tennis, because player A is good, and against A hitting a ace is not an easy thing, or scoring a point against A is not a good thing. So yes, he has a substance. So contradicting with some supporting reasoning is also good. Vade vade jayate tattva bodha. Then the next one is a refutation, finds the mistake and explains, hey, yeah, you were wrong. Okay, that's also useful, as long as the intention is not just to show that the person is wrong, but it is refuted. So that's done. But even better, the best thing is refuting the central point, which is explicitly refutes the central point the other side is making. That's beautiful. I want to stop here. And so, Aditya, maybe this is our beginning of a new series. We'll start talking about the Shastrarth or Samvad, Vada, okay, Jalpa, Vitanda, Hetva, Bhasa, how that happens. And we can use this uh, Paul Graham's framework to basically discuss that.
Actually, we will also bring the Vedic framework also, because the weakness of Hindus have been defanged. So Hindus may talk philosophy like what we are doing, but on
Hmm.
the ground, the action is limited. Like the Hindus are at the mercy of criminal
Hmm.
elements. And by
Hmm.
the time they wait for police, they get destroyed. Okay.
Very true. Very
So
true.
it's time also, we'll also in this series will include actionable items, how the Hindu culture be properly followed as per Manav Smriti,
Yeah.
and how the youth of Hindus will have to take, I'm not saying take law in the hands, but
Yeah.
actually implement law in a proper way, so that the
Yes.
self protection is maintained as per the constitution of the world, any
Yeah.
country, whether it's India or USA or anywhere else.
Yes.
Unless the Hindu youth is trained to come on the streets to protect their
Yes.
rights, this is not going to
Yes.
happen. So we'll
Correct.
try to make this series practical also, so that
Very much.
Hindu
Very
youth
much.
can take advantage of it. Not
Yeah.
everybody can come to the rise of Nilesh Oak or anyone else, but you can gradually come to that level or go beyond it.
Absolutely. And see, also we have to understand here we are talking from an intellectual point of view, but mana buddhi sharira. We just like we talk of intellectual kshatriya, we have to become a kshatriya at an emotional level, the level of a mind, and we have
And
to become
physical.
a which is a sharira, at a sharira. If you don't protect your sharira, you don't have a mana and buddhi to play with.
Intellectual and Kshatriya are two opposing terms actually,
Mhm.
because it is, in
Well,
fact,
because the intellectual now, see, they have hijacked the word intellectual also, But we are talking here, I mean, when I'm saying intellectual, I'm meaning the pradnya, buddhi, and that sense.
because Brahma Karma and Chhatra Karma are two different
Correct,
things.
correct.
So Brahma Karma should be a separate path for people.
Yes,
Chhatra Karma should be a separate path. Vaishya Karma should be a separate path. And
Yeah.
Shudra karma is everybody is Shudra in Kali Yuga. Kala is Shudra
Yes, yes,
Sambhava.
yes,
So
yes,
so then so we have to we have to understand, because when you understand as per the Varna and the qualities of Varna, I think we need a class of Hindu youth who are who use the seven qualities of Kshatriya, and we need a class of Hindu youth who use the nine qualities of a Brahmana. Fully
correct.
develop them. Focus only on
Yes,
developing those
yes,
based on your own vritti. You don't have to. You can be born anywhere, but you can still
yeah,
become a Brahman. That's why Vishwamitra became a Brahman from Kshatriya.
correct.
And
But also we have to ensure, since this is a Kali Yuga, that everyone knows their Shudra karma very well too, right? Because we don't want snobs. That is the other point,
correct,
right?
correct. And also, yeah, you should not see the pride is a fall. Pride, Ghamand breaks everybody. Pride it breaks everybody. And the moment you think you're somebody, that means that that very moment you became zero. You know. So anyway, thank you very much, Nilesh. Always a pleasure. And you viewers will notice that I am very comfortable talking to Nilesh ji and some other guests on the show, Rameshwar Mishpanka ji, Kusumlata ji, because we match the wavelength and we can talk on certain areas without misunderstanding each other. That is also important. So you should have at least one friend who can criticize you also. And the same friend should be able to give you positive feedback also. So listening only good things is not good enough.
Yes.
Something critical is also good enough. Well, Neeraj ji does tell you negative things in a very sweet way, by the way. So some people may not like his sweetness, but I like his. He does the same thing to me too. So thank you very much and namaste and see you again.
Namaskar.
Namaste.